The Supreme Court is headed into the last 2 weeks of its term. As usual, the justices are saving some of the biggest decisions for last. Among the most critical issues pending are the status of same-sex marriage and subsidies for health insurance under Obamacare. Here to tell us more is CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford. She's in our Washington bureau. Jan, good morning.
Well, good morning. I mean, let's talk about the Obamacare case first. Obviously, that's the president's signature legislative achievement. It's under assault, and it is really no exaggeration to say that this case could be the ball game for that entire law. The court is going to decide whether people in 34 states who get insurance through the federal exchange, which we kind of refer to as, the website healthcare.gov, whether they will continue getting subsidies so that they can afford to pay their premiums. And opponents are arguing that the way Congress wrote that law, these subsidies are available only to people in the 12 states that set up their own independent exchanges. So this will affect a lot of people.
So, in other words, for consumers, there could be some sort of direct effect to you. You should be watching this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen, this could mean that more than 6 million people who are now getting their Obamacare insurance through that federal exchange would no longer get the subsidies. And these subsidies are not insignificant. I mean, they can run $400 or $500 a month for an individual. So, the Affordable Care Act, I think, could become the Unaffordable Care Act. Most of these people would lose their policies because they couldn't pay those high premiums without the government's help. And, that really, I think, could undo the entire law. So, I mean, this law in many ways hangs in the balance with this decision.
So, too, Jan, on another case, does same-sex marriage, I think, right? We're talking about Obergefell versus Hodges. Can you explain what's at stake there?
Well, sure. So Obergefell is an Ohio man, and he is fighting the state of Ohio because he wants the state to recognize his marriage to his longtime partner who died 2 years ago of ALS. And the couple, they legally married in Maryland, where same-sex marriage was legal, but Ohio is refusing to recognize their marriage and put his name on the death certificate as the surviving spouse. So he is challenging this, and there are other cases that are similar coming out of Kentucky and Michigan to say that same-sex marriage should be the law of the land.
But given that same-sex marriage is legal in more than 35 states, if the Supreme Court rules against it, what will happen?
That is the hardest and I think most fascinating question that you've touched on, Vanita, because, right now we think, well, look, it's legal in most states across the country. These voters are kind of the tide is turning. But if you look at it, those states, in 20 of those states, it's legal because of federal court rulings. So if the Supreme Court now comes in and says, you know what, the Constitution doesn't require this, it would be chaos because in those 20 states, the right to same-sex marriage would disappear, and it would really throw into question all of those marriages that now have been legally performed in those states.
Lots of big decisions ahead of them. Jan Crawford in Washington, thank you so much.